All right. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone see and hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. I am so excited to have everyone here with me tonight. I am Ladell Whaley, the visionary for Whaley Media Enterprise, and you are here for easy graphic design skills for business. And this is the workshop. Now, the little birdie might tell you that there is going to be a mini course associated with this that will run soon after. But for now, let's talk about this workshop and all of the great information that I have for you. And this is designed to help not just business owners, but entrepreneurs. If you are a professional in the world and you have to create material communication, this is the place to be, because I want to help everyone get to a position where they can effectively communicate visually. So before we get started, this is a faith-based organization, so I'm going to say a quick prayer before we get started. God, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for everyone that's joining us and everyone who's watching the replay. We pray that everything that they put their hands to is successful in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so let's get started. Get this slide advancing. There we go. All right, so I am Ladell Whaley. I am a wife, a mother, and I am a first lady. So that is why our organization is faith-based. I am a creative professional and educator as well. I have an associate degree in graphic design, a bachelor's degree in IDVP, which is an interdisciplinary studies, where I wrote my own program in graphic design, business, and communication, as well as a master's degree in education, media, design, and technology, or in other words, instructional design. I have 24 years of graphic design professionally. I have 15 years of teaching in the classroom and online, as well as 10 years of instructional design. And I have also worked as, or earned the title of Adobe Creative Educator. Now, back in the day, Adobe had a couple of other terms that we could use for that, but they actually have just incorporated that to be an Adobe Creative Educator. And that is why my handle was recently changed to become the Boss Creative Maven. So when it comes to this stuff, I have a little bit of information to share. I've got some years of experience with it. So when I tell you things, it's not because of something I have just grown to learn or just, read in a book. It's actually things that I've put to the test, things I've done wrong that I've learned the hard way. And if I can do anything, I don't want to make your journey hard with this. I want to make it as easy as possible. So tonight we're going to discuss why graphic design is important to business. Why is it important that we have this? No matter if it's your business or business that you're working for, why is graphic design important? And then most importantly, what is the goal when it comes to graphic designing your business? What are you using it for? And then how can you use it to improve your business graphics? What can we do to make it better? You might be someone who's dabbled a little bit in Canva or some Adobe software or another free app that you may have found, or if it's even with Word or a PowerPoint. But what can we do to improve what we're doing now? And so that is my goal. I am going to show you the principles of design, the elements of design, and visual hierarchy. Now, tonight, I am not going to dive deep. We're just going to kind of skim the surface. I'm going to tell you what is important and how and why they're important. But of course, you already know when it comes to the dive deep, that is when I do that in the course. And that is because I spend more time talking about it and showing you and demonstrating how that should work. So, of course, I can't teach you about your brand if I don't explain mine, right? And so my brand is The Boss Creative. Now, of course, you see Whaley Media Enterprise, and you'll see me, advertising the different courses that I do, but you'll often see me refer to my mega package or my premium product as the Boss Creative. And that is because I am creating something that is brilliant, originative, stylish, and stunning. I can't just have you out there looking like, everyone else. We've got to take it up a level. And so that is why my focus is to help my clients not only take their brand to the next level, but to, if there's a creative like me, take someone else's brand to the next level. So that is why I deem the title Boss Creative. But of course, you know me, I said I'm a faith-based organization, right? So if you're one like me, you're also blessed, an overcomer, saved, and sanctified. So, all right, enough about me. Let's get into the good stuff, right? So why is graphic design important to business, right? We all know, we see people with the apps and things now, and they're making these great Instagram posts and Facebook posts. But why is that so important? Why must we take the time to spend creatively? Most people think that, or I shouldn't say most people, you might not be that way, but many people think that, oh, all I need to do is have, my product is going to be that. I've got to have an awesome business plan. Now, yes, an awesome business plan is very important, but if you cannot effectively communicate or reach your audience, then your business plan is just a business plan. So what do we do to do that? We incorporate the graphic design, we incorporate that visual, that the graphic design establishes and supports your brand. It helps you create that picture. Think of it like this. Your brand is your name, right? I am Liddell. Whaley Media is my brand. When you see Whaley Media, you'll begin to think of who? Me. Now, of course, once we get more graphic designers and people like that, that's my future. But once we get to that, you'll still know that, okay, that started with Liddell. When people see me and I come across the room, they see Liddell. So what they see is the brand that I've developed. Visually, they know who I am. And so that's what we're going to do. You're going to take your brand and you're going to create that visual. So when people see it on Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform you're on, they're going to know that's you. Now, if you're not focusing on your brand, you may just need to create material. You're working for an employer and you have to do presentations. And no one wants death by PowerPoint. No one wants material that is just not very interesting to look at. And so all of these skills that I'm going to talk about today literally can be implemented immediately. You can start using them tonight. So we're going to create that visual presentation, those skills that you need to implement immediately to make some changes. So when it comes to creating good design, you don't have to spend a lot of time to learn it. You really don't. It's really about taking the information and knowing how to implement it into what you're doing. Now, granted, the things that I do, I've spent years learning tools, learning concepts, learning practices and things like that. But when I tell you the principles and elements of design can be implemented into everything, even a Word document, it's just knowing what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And so that is what I'm here to do, is showing you how to create good design, no matter what you're creating, no matter what tool you're using, whether it's Word, Canva, whether it's an Adobe product, whatever you use, that's what we're going to talk about. So good design needs a good foundation. And that is what we're talking about, the foundation, the structure, what we're going to build and make things better. And then, like I said, it's about applying and knowing it. If you know that you need to, make things a certain way to make it better, you can look at it and tell. If I gave you a sheet of paper, just nothing but text, it might not be very interesting to you. Now, if you're somebody who likes to read, you might not mind. But for someone visual like me, that is too much. I don't want to read it because it's too much. I don't like that. I like to see something visual. Now, can I read? Yes, if I really have to, I will. But if you give me something that's a little more visually pleasing, guess what? I'm going to read it very quickly. And that is the goal of your information. That is the goal of your message, to get people the information they need immediately. So I've already skipped ahead. What is your goal? The first thing to do is you must establish your design. You must establish your design. You must have a plan. You must know what you are going to do. So your plan is to set a goal, map out the plan, and determine your design solution. So our goal is communicating something, right? When I was advertising this, I wanted to get people here. And so that was my goal. The plan, I mapped out graphics, a message, content. I mapped out what it was I was trying to communicate to everyone. And then when it came to the design, I had to focus on what information and what images worked well with this whole presentation. So when it comes to the actual graphics and improving our design, we have to really focus on what it is we're trying to do. It's important to understand that graphics, an image and text with it is great. That's visual, and you've got to start. Now, if you're doing that, it's nothing wrong with that. It's great. You're starting to do something. You understand the importance of having a visual. Having a visual is very important. You have to have something that gets the attention of your audience. But most importantly, you have to do something to make them want to move, to act. And so give them enough to make them want more or to act. Give them enough that they want to say, what is this? I want to know more. Well, what are you really talking about? How many times do you watch TV and you see a restaurant and you want to know, when is that deal? What is that food they're eating? I want to go there. Or you see a car and you like that car and you get to learn more, especially if you're in the market for a car. Clothing, sales, we're coming up on the holiday seasons. Sales are about to be in our face. And so what do they do to get us to come to that store? They're presenting material, they're presenting products, they're presenting things that make us want to act. And that's what you have to do. Now, because I'm an educator, when it comes to your students, if you're a teacher, if you're a course creator and you want people to act, you want them to interact, you want them to do things, you want them to complete the project, you can't just give them a sheet of paper and say, this is the assignment, here's the instructions, here's a rubric, and let's go. Let's break that up. Let's give them a visual layout. Now, it doesn't mean you have to load it with pictures. It does not mean that. It means that you have to lay your text out in a way that actually brings them through the process of learning. So the solution, first of all, applying the method. Keep it simple. We want to make it as easy as possible. We want to make sure that message is not too overwhelming, that people don't know what we're talking about. We want them to get it and get it quickly. My rule of thumb is 60 seconds or less. And actually, if you can get it in 30 seconds or less, you're doing really good. But 60 seconds or less, someone should know exactly what you're talking about. Whether that's an introduction paragraph, if it's a long sheet, or if it's an ad on social media, it should be very simple, very quick. So for example, in my slides here, you've been seeing me give you solutions and information, and there's not an entire sheet full of text. It's main points. And that is what you want. You want to give them enough to, one, listen to you, and also give you enough to make them want more. You want them to act. If we give our students or our clients just enough to want more, or our customers enough to want more, guess what? They're going to keep coming back. So we have to make sure that we give them the solution, but not be overwhelming with that information. So the goal, the underlining goal, we want them to get their attention. We want them to move. So if you're selling a product, you want to deliver the message that tells them what they want, how to get it, and where they can get it. And if we give them exactly that information, and most importantly, they're going to want to know eventually how much it costs. Now, if they want it bad enough, it may not matter how much it is. But you want to make sure that no matter what you do, you are definitely doing what needs to be done to deliver your message. Your goal is to hit that target, hit it on the nose. You want them to know exactly what you are trying to tell them. And so that's where we get to the good stuff. Great design starts with the application of the principles of design. Now, I will tell you this, there are differences. If you go up and you look it up and you say, what are the principles of design? You may get fine art. You may get just art. But we're talking about graphic design. Graphic design is different than just art. Art is more free. It's not, I shouldn't say conforming, but there's a little more freedom in just fine art. What we're talking about is a structured design that is for a specific reason. And so that is where one of my favorite things is CRAP. The CRAP principle, the principle of design. Now, people might say, well, why would you use the word CRAP? Well, that's how I was taught. And I've always taught it like that since then. And my students tend to like that. So I stuck with it. So the CRAP principle of design: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. And I like to say that this is CRAP that all business owners, business professionals, teachers, we all should know this. It's CRAP we can use. So let's break this down. We want to build a structure for the design. And the CRAP principle, I like to use it as an acronym as building a house. All these principles should be in your design because this is your structure. It's your structure to a good, solid design. And so the contrast is the use of different colors, shapes, sizes, to draw the attention of your reader. If I just had everything on this page, no different colors, no different sizes, just text, that wouldn't be so interesting, correct? Instead, how about having some contrast to help draw your attention to the fact that contrast is much larger than the information underneath it? Why? Because the main point is contrast. We want to do things very subtle to help attract the attention of our audience. And so as you can see, I have the title of this slide very large, very different, but it also helps you start there because it's the largest thing on the page. A little contrast underneath just tells you a little bit more about that title. But here over to our bullets, we have the first one, which is contrast, where I give you the main bullet and then some information underneath that. Now, the next thing is repetition. Repetition is where we begin to repeat elements to show consistency in all that you do for your brand, for your work, for your communication. Consistency is very important. Consistency is important because when it comes to your brand, once again, back to recognition, you want people to recognize it's you. You want people to understand that this is how you do things. This is how you structure your items. And so repetition helps not only us recognize the brand and create consistency, but it also can help you recognize certain aspects of your business. So for instance, if you're creating a presentation and you have different meanings for certain colors, then they can recognize that, hey, red means something that is very important. Maybe yellow is something that's not so important, but it's, good to know. And then, green is just in case you want to know a little more. That contrast, that repetition is that consistency that you can carry through, so that no matter when a person sees that item or element, they know that it's a part of that brand, that communication. Now, you don't just have to do it with elements. You can do it with how you structure your text. So once again, you see all my bullets are a certain size and the text underneath it is another size. That complete contrast shows that repetition that is being done. Now, the next thing is alignment. I will tell you this: everything on your page should be aligned with something. Everything on the page should be aligned with something. And for anyone who likes center alignment, it is well with titles. However, I personally would suggest that you use center alignment sparingly. And that is because we actually read from left to right, top to bottom. So we want to have that Z pattern that allows us to guide our viewer through the entire message. We want you to know the title. We want you to know every bullet and every information. If we just use a center alignment, you may skip over something. You may just kind of breeze through. Whereas when we set it up like I have it on the screen here, we're constantly moving to see what all we have there on the page. So alignment is very important. It helps align the key elements together. Now, proximity is, like I like to say, like an invitation. When you group things together, it's showing things that are similar, things that should belong together. It's that grouping that you put in order to help bring everything all together. Now, yes, your whole paper is one group. However, within that group, you want to chunk things together. So for all my educators, it's the chunking. For all my designers, it is the grouping. Whatever your profession may be, whatever your business may be, you want to make sure that you not only show the difference, repeat things, but you want to align them and group things together that belong together. So in an invitation, if the date, time, and location are important, you put those things together, right? So that's what you want to do with proximity. You want to make sure that everything is together and able to show that these things belong together. And so once you get your structure built, so like I said, it's like building a house. Once you get the house built, once you get all the walls up and everything together, you have a solid foundation. It's time to make it beautiful. And so I like to say that the elements of design are the tools that help decorate the structure. They help make it beautiful. And so in order to do that, you have to enhance your design with the look and feel. So enhance the look and feel of the design with line, shape, color, value, texture, shape and size, balance, space. There's quite a few that you can use. Now, you don't have to use all of them. You don't have to. They're just all good to use and have to make it better. So when it comes to line, everybody says, well, that's just a line. Well, your line does not have to be an actual line. It can be a implied line. Only thing that you must know is that it connects things together. So whether it's an actual line that brings 2 points together, or it's a line of text that just shows if there's a line there, that is what you're doing. You're actually, that line is that direction that you have, how you take people from one direction to the next. So if I want you to start here, but I want you to go over here, I might have something that goes along the way so that it takes you over to the next thing. Now, shape is its form, it's items, it's things that you can put on the page to help enhance the page. I would actually say that when it comes to shapes, you don't have to have them on the page, but if you want to do something like the proximity where you group things together, you can put things in a shape. It not only groups things together, but it also then creates that that contrast as well, because if you have a white piece of paper and you have a block of color with some text, you've created a contrast, you've created a proximity, and you've also used the shape. So that's how you start bringing things together. The next thing is balance. Balance is so important. If you don't have balance in your page, you begin to have things that are quite off. So you got to be sure to distribute things, and it doesn't have to be just completely even. You can have things that are, maybe, bigger on the top and maybe a little bit in the middle, and then maybe a bit on the bottom. It just all depends on how you distribute the things on the page. Now, the next thing is color. Color, wow, that is actually just a whole session in itself. Color theory is so important to design. I can't express enough how important it is and what colors you use, how you use them. Most importantly, you kind of need to know the meaning of color, because there is a meaning to every color and it helps set the mood. So whatever color you use, you want to make sure that you do some research on that color and what it means to your actual design. Now, when it comes to color, there's also that value of that color, and that is the lightness and darkness of the color. Value comes in handy if you have a shape that you want to use with text, but you don't necessarily want to use white text because maybe it doesn't call for white text in your design, but you want to have that color. You can lighten up that color and create that value that will go with the black text. So there's different things that you can do when it comes to value to help show that emphasis and show that gradient or transparency in your design. Everything doesn't have to be a solid color. Transparency or value can help enhance something without it being so overbearing. So that brings us to texture. Texture is another way to add that realistic feeling to your design. You can literally create texture with just shapes together, how you place items on the page. You can use it to create a more realistic approach to what you're trying to communicate. It really just depends on what you are trying to do when you are communicating things to your audience. Next is size. Size is very important because size is what helps us create that interest. It is working with balance. It works with the emphasis. They all kind of work together, but size and scale helps you to differentiate things. It helps you to show that something may be more important than the other. It helps you to see that, this isn't as important as, just off to the side. It's good to know. If you're, communicating information to someone, you might have, the main topics and main things they need to know fairly large on the page. But if it's something that it's important to know, but it's not as important, that's where that size and scale comes in, because you can differentiate the sizes for them to know exactly what is important and what is just supportive or not as important as the larger information. And then the last thing is space. Space is important. And the reason why space is important is because if we give you a a sheet full of text, and there is no space, your eyes begin to hurt. Have you ever read, the chapter book that is just pages and pages of reading? Just text, 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 text. After a while, your eyes may get a little tired because you're constantly going with that text. Whereas with books nowadays, you may see that break, whether it's just a new thought and they break to do and maybe just a little paragraph, little swivel, little design. Or if it's a picture book that has pictures, it may be a picture, but there's elements of just breaks in between. There's space in between. And that's what we call white space in the design world. And you may call it that as well. But white space is good. White space is your friend because it gives your eye a break. We don't want our audience to become weary in reading our message. We want them to feel as though they get it and it's not too overwhelming. So white space is very good when it comes to giving them exactly what they need, but also giving their eyes a break or a moment. So now that I've done all of the talking, let's just put this all together. I couldn't just bring you here and tell you all this stuff without showing you a little bit, right? So I'm going to switch over to my there we go. All right, so here it is. If I gave you this deer slide or this deer graphic, how would you really feel? And you can be honest, what would you think? Is it a no-go? Is it I can't believe you sent this to me? What would you think? It gives all the information, yes, but does it really catch your eye?
No.
And that's what we're here for, because we don't want to just present this in a way that, people say, oh, okay, that's nice. I'm glad to, congratulations, great job. We don't want that to happen. We want it to be something where somebody sees and goes, oh, wow, I want to know more about that. And so let me show you how we do this. So I'm using Canva. I use Canva for things like this. And as a designer, like I said, nowadays, it's not about what tool you're using, it's how you use the tools. And I personally like to use Canva because I do a lot of presentations and graphics for other people. And so I can create templates and things a little easier and share much easier with people when it comes to this software. So if you take any of my future courses, you will be learning more of how to design with Canva. And it doesn't matter which profession you're in because you can use it for everything. So the first thing I would do is come here, and I want people to know that you don't want to miss this, right? So we're going to do that here. The next thing is the webinar. So we don't want to miss the webinar. So we want them to know they don't want to miss it, but then we want them to know what we don't want them to miss. So that's where I would go in, and I just am a big fan of making, some words bigger, that emphasis, contrast, and scale, right? And when I design things, I generally like everything to be pretty much black and white when I design. And so what I would do is come in and, choose, I have my brand fonts that I use. So I would come in and make this larger because we want them to know exactly what we are using. And my mouse is dying, so I will switch over to this one. Let's switch mouse real quick. The joys of having more than one. All right, let's see if this mouse works. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the next thing, I will just place this. Come on, mouse. All right, so just real quick, I will place it here. Now this section right here, this is an entire section by itself. So I would actually move this, because remember we talked about things that we want to proximity, but we want to also make sure that it stands out, but it's not as like, this is very, very, very important. You got to know this right now. The first thing I would want them to understand more than anything is that the time and date. So here's the time and here's the date. We can go ahead and do this like this. And I'm going to do a little different from the last time I had it, so you can see something different. We're going to do the time and date here. And you notice I did center the top part. Remember I said you want to use it sparingly. When I do center text, it's generally for something like a title, or if I am breaking up some information and it's a heading, I may do a center text. The next thing I would do is I'm actually going to do my all caps again, just because it's cleaner to me. I know on the internet, it can be considered like yelling, but in this case, it's for design purposes, and I want to show the difference in what's happening. So I want live to stand out, so I'm going to bold that. Notice I have not added any color yet. When I do my designs, I like to do everything black and white, like I said, and then enhance with color later. Just helps me kind of pick out the main things. So if you go here, you'll see that I am aligning it with the edge of my W, and I'm going to put it about right here. Now my good old graphic is right here, and I want this to actually align with my title. So I'm going to just make it a little larger. So that it's right down the middle. Now, as I see that, I think, I don't like this placement. I would rather this font, this text be aligned with the computer. So I'll move it over. And instantly you see how that kind of draws things in together. Okay, so let's deal with this little piece right here, this VIP. Now, before I had it in the call out right here, but let's do something a little different. I'm going to first work with the title here, the text here, and I'm just going to make it a bit larger and bring it up. And make it a little larger. There we go. So we're going to do it here and do something a little different. Make this bold. There we go. So we have the word free, and I want it to stand out. And then we will do the word consultation, and I want to make that larger so that we have it consistent. Remember, repetition, about consistency. All right, so and there we have it. And of course, this is what I would consider my rough draft. So I definitely go in and just rough everything in, place it, see how I like it, and then move from there. And so just to kind of give you an idea of what I do after that, I'll just leave registration where it is, but I'll go in and actually make it all caps just to keep it consistent with everything else. The VIP will do that as well, making sure the consultation, I'll actually go in and work with the fonts. There we have it. So there it is. It's there. It's, it delivers the message. But let's go ahead and make that a little better, right? So the first thing I would do is begin to add some graphics here. First thing is this right here. I'm just going to add a little gray here, and actually a darker gray. I want it to almost be as though it's on a table, but it's not really on the table. And you'll see the contrast of that font is not the greatest. So we need to work with that, right? So the first thing I would do is actually send my thing to the back here. And now we have it resting on the table. Change the color of the font so that that stands out. And now that I'm looking at it, I want the letter spacing to be closer. And I'll just enhance the size a little bit, that size and scale again, because everyone likes to see the word free. So you put free on there, make sure it stands out. So there we have that there. Now, I don't want this to be black because it's a little dark. So let's try a different color. We'll go with the Whaley Media turquoise that's there. There we go. And now things are beginning to take shape. So what I like to do is when it comes to the design, I often like to make sure that keywords are highlighted. And so the first thing, webinar, we want to make sure that that stands out. So one thing we can do is either keep webinar black and change the font of the don't miss. And that is generally, a good way to do that. So you can see now that they're not the same weight. One is a little larger than the other. That's a great way to get, people, the attention of your audience. The next thing is this little box right here. How do we get this to be something that isn't just looming around? How do we get people to really pay attention to that? And so you can put it in a box if you want to show that this is grouped together, or you can change the color of it. It's really kind of based on what you're trying to do. Now, the way I see it may not be the way you see it. Whatever I teach you, whatever I share with you, it is ultimately best practices, things that I experience. So I would definitely suggest that you go ahead and take what I teach you, use what you can, and then, the rest, just save it for a rainy day. But most importantly, you just want to take and use that to the best of your ability. So what I would do in the end is go in here and add some just fancy graphics. I guess you can call it that way. So fancy graphics. So remember, I had this little fancy thing here, and I don't want it to really be a hindrance to what's there, right? Right now, it's like, oh, what's that? Why did she put that there? You ever had that feeling in something and you look at something and go, why did they do that? Well, we don't want that feeling for today. So what I'm going to do is I actually wanted to kind of fill the bottom half in a way. So that's why I'm making it kind of large. And then I'm going to send it to the back of the classroom. So it's going to go to the back. And then I am going to simply change the opacity so that value is coming all the way down. And now you have this graphic like this. And that is a way you literally can go in and begin to enhance your work. And so, like I said, you have to have that structure, the crap. You have to have the crap. You have to have contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. Those are very important. If you don't have anything else, you want to make sure you have that. But most importantly, once you do that, if you go ahead and add those elements, if you're adding in the line, and remember, I said you don't have to have an actual line. You can have an implied line. What do I mean by an implied line? See how the text all flows in a certain way? Those are implied lines. We don't have just, like notebook paper lines. We actually have implied lines there. So they're all flowing together. If you notice, like we said, the value of that last shape I put in, that adds a little bit of, flair to what we have. So that is a great way to give people just a little visual without it being overwhelming. And most importantly, the visual layout, the balance of what we present is always very important to make sure that whatever we do, we are getting the attention of our audience. All right, so before we get out of here, let's go back to our presentation. So what is the difference? Like I said, be sure that when you are, looking up things, if you ever go back and look, you be sure to apply the principles and elements of graphic design. Graphic design. Graphic design is the layout. Graphic design is that strategic way of placing things on the page. Like I said, fine arts, it's wonderful. It's more freeform. There is a structure to it, but there isn't a specific structure that is considered best practices. So you want to make sure that you are focusing on the graphic design side of design versus the design that is fine art. So that's the difference. All right, so the last bit of information is the visual hierarchy. The visual hierarchy is so important. And what it means is that there is a flow. It is what, remember I kept saying that we've got to guide their eye. We've got to bring them from the beginning to the end. That flow is what we call the visual hierarchy. And if you know what a hierarchy means, you know that what I'm saying is we have things that are larger and smaller that help guide the viewer's eye through the message. And that is the ultimate goal. We want to guide them from beginning to end, left to right. We want them to see the entire page. And we do that with a visual hierarchy. If you remember on my page that I created here, there's smaller things around here, but if you follow the flow from top to bottom, left to right, you're going to read the entire message. You will see everything on the page because this is designed to take you from top to bottom and left to right. So if I do what we call a Z pattern, it takes me, and I'm going to annotate this just so you can see where I'm going. If we do the Z pattern is what we call top to bottom and left to right. And so it brings you all the way down. And that is the purpose of this. So as we read, they come here, they come here, they come here, and they come here, and they end here, which is our call to action. So if we've done everything right, they read what it is, when it is, and then a little bonus here, and then how to get everything. And if you notice, there's not a lot of explanation, and that's not that it's a bad thing. You don't want to give them too much and overwhelm them. You want to give them enough to make them want more. So when they go to your link, when they go to whatever your product is, then they learn more. And that's what it is. You become the expert of your product or your information. All right. We can clear the annotations now. Okay, so now you say, okay, you talked about all this stuff. What's next? Well, what am I going to do with this? Well, great for you. I have been doing this for a while. And so there's a couple things that I can do to help you. So the first option is that I can teach you how to do it. You can learn more from my Whaley Media Creative Development, where we do the workshops like what you're in right now. Though they're generally going to be about once a week. I mean, not once a week, once a month. Whew, once a week is way too much. Once a month. Now, with every workshop, there will be a mini course. And the mini course is designed to take the information that you've learned or covered in the workshop a tad bit further. It's really gonna put you to the test, because tonight I demonstrated it. But when you take the mini course, you'll put it to action, you'll put it to work. The mini courses are just a small session that you can do at your own pace. It doesn't even require a live session. You can purchase the course and do it yourself at your own pace and your own speed. Then you have the boot camps or the full course. And the boot camp and full course is two different options, but give you the same type of feel. The boot camp is a really intense. That's jam-packed. That's going to have everything you need, and it's going to have a weekly guide with me on a regular basis to help get you through that work really quick. The full course is just as much information, but not as intensive as the boot camp. And then there's the master course that is in development that will give you everything you need to know. Mind you, I told you I've got over 10 years worth of a curriculum and information to share with you. So the master course is going to give you every single thing from color theory to typography to more layout and design, more concepts. There are some software coming up. So Canva master course and Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator, InDesign, whatever it is, there's going to be a master course for those software. And like I said, I've taught them all, so they're coming out just as quickly as I can. Okay, so that is our platform for the courses where you can learn more. So let me break down the first one that's coming out on October 1st. So October 1st is our first mini course coming out. It is a deeper dive into the easy graphic design skills for business. And that is a one-time payment of $50. And you have that access for 30 days. That is on our platform, and that is available on the 1st of October. And then we have the first boot camp, and this is like a premium boot camp because it is Boss Creative Branding Boot Camp. And this is actually going to launch on October 1st as well. But the actual course does not start until October 18th. So you've got some time to amp up. It goes on sale, but you have until the 18th to register. It is an 8-week session, and this is literally going to be an opportunity from you to go from either nothing or an idea to a redesign. You're going to come in with whatever you have, whether it's nothing or a redesign. And I'm going to literally walk you through. By the time you get done, you should have your logo. You should have your vision board for your brand. You should have your brand guides, your color scheme, your fonts. You should have every asset you need for your brand, as well as a branding guide. And that is your little mini Bible to how you're going to use your brand. And we're going to do all of that in 8 weeks. But to top it all off, not only are you going to create everything, but your last week, we're actually going to put it to the test, and you're going to apply that brand to at least one of your platforms. Now, if you're a superstar and you get it applied to every brand that you have or every platform that you have, then you are a rock star. But you don't have to do it all in you don't have to do it all in 1 week. You can actually do one brand. But the ultimate goal is to launch your brand. So if you join me in October, by the end of November, you will have your brand. That is the goal. So there's a one-time payment of $15.99, or we even have payment plans. So you can have 2 payments of the $799.50, or you can do 3 payment plans of $399.75. But I couldn't just help my friends who joined me tonight. I can't just leave you out there. So I am giving everyone who either joined me tonight or who is watching the replay, you have an opportunity to take advantage of a 20% off, where it will be $1279.20. And this early bird special is only good until Monday, the 27th of September. So if you are interested, you can jump on this early bird special. But guess what? Not only will you get this, you also get a chance to schedule some consultations with me as a part of the early bird process. So not only will you get a chance to do this launch, granted, we will be having some live sessions, some feedback sessions, but you also get to schedule a consultation with me. So that is an opportunity that goes a little bit beyond just the classroom time with me. And so during this time that we are together, we will actually have 2 days of here's the material, you read over it. We'll have a day of me meeting with everyone, going through the material, going through what you need to do to create the first assignment. And yes, there are assignments, because how else are we going to create your brand, right? So you're going to do the assignment, and then we'll actually have time for you to work on that assignment. And when we come back again, it will be a feedback section and a look to the next step. So all along the way, I'm going to be guiding you through this process. So I won't just give you the work and say, go do it. I'm going to help guide you through the process. So that is the first way to do things with me. You either can learn on your own, you can do some guided classes, or you can do a boot camp with me. The next thing is, you might say, hey, I want to do it myself, but I'm just not ready to step out on my own. So that's why I will guide you through it. I will do your creative direction. I will sit with you. I will help you with the planning process, the project development, the course direction if you're doing courses. But most importantly, it's creative consultations. It is me being your in-house creative director for you and your brand. And so that you set up time on my books, and we can begin to talk about how the consultation services can be more effective for you and your brand. And most importantly, you get that feedback if you're doing it yourself, and you still could do the workshops and mini sessions if you desire. But most importantly, you have me there to guide you through the process. And then, of course, if you just are someone who says, you know what, I really, I want to know this stuff, but I'm just not comfortable doing it all, you can actually hire me to do it. You can hire our services, our creative services. We do graphic design, instructional design, and we do have the Boss Creative Premium packages where we do the work for you, but also we do allow you to do the workshops and courses, but we also train you personally to maintain your material on your own. So we don't just do it and say, here you go, We do it and say, okay, come sit with us and let's show you how to maintain these things. Let's show you how to do this, because you're going to have access to the classes anyway. So you can take the classes, you can learn the stuff all while we're building your material. And then we help you just keep that going. So that's the premium packages. And details for that is on the website, whaleymedia.enterprise.com. All right, so we've come to the end of the road. Are there any questions?
Great job. I don't have a question, but all of this is very interesting.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are someone watching the replay, please make sure that in the session, there is a discussion. If you send your questions in the discussion, we can respond and give you the answers that you are looking for. But of course, before I go, I invite everyone to follow us on social media. Our handles are Whaley Me Creative _creative for Instagram, Whaley Media ENT on Twitter, and we are Whaley Media Enterprise on Facebook. And if you want to follow me personally, there is the Boss Creative Maven. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I look forward to seeing everyone in the boot camp that wants to join me. And if you don't join me for the boot camp, I hope to see you in a future workshop or course, because ultimately, I want to help you take your brand to the next level. I want to help you create dynamic business communications. Thank you, everyone.